to another edition of Barstools and Bandtalk. I'm kind of not in the studio. I'm out and about, as us Canadians say. I have a special treat here for you. A band called Ascendia from good old YYZ. We've got Nick. We've got John. Gentlemen, welcome.
Thanks, man. Good to be here.
And it's good to talk with some fellow Canadians, because normally I interview guys and girls from the States, so this is very cool. Nick, we'll start with you. So Jamie sent me as she always does. She sent me the information. You know, I was very. I shouldn't say I was surprised. She hasn't sent me anything that's bad. She represents top-notch talent, but very interesting, very unique.
Thank you.
Talk about that a little bit, please.
Yeah. As far as what there, Sean? Sorry, I misunderstood.
Well, I mean, it's just you know, again, normally I'm pretty good at putting my finger on influences, and I might have heard one or two, but
okay.
It's very new, fresh kind of material.
Yeah, I mean, so I never grew up in an extremely musical family whatsoever. My first introduction to metal or heavy metal was in my teens, and my first introduction was bands like Mudvayne, Slipknot, Korn, System of a Down. Naturally, I'm Armenian, so that was instantly attached to that. But I picked up on a lot of Serj Tankian's vocal style, Howard Jones of Killswitch Engage, and without sounding too cliche, every vocalist always wants to find their voice. No vocalist ever wants to emulate anybody, and it took me several years to finally hone in and own me. Ultimately, it's my personality. Your voice is your personality, right? So with this record, and how it differed from the first record was nothing was forced. Everything was very natural. Everything felt like it should be, if that makes any sense, without getting too complicated. I think we froze up there.
I'm going to call it new prog metal, because I'm hearing things in there that I haven't necessarily heard before. I mean, there's maybe some tracks and loops and those types of things. When I think prog, I think Dream Theater. I think Porcupine Tree, those types of things.
Yeah.
Those influences are probably in there, but you guys are kind of doing some stuff that's a little left of center in terms of the prog metal genre.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean, again, if you listen to our early stuff, it just happened to be at the time where we were as people and as musicians. That's what we were listening to. So ultimately, we were influenced by a lot of those bands that you just mentioned, and it was just a natural progression into that prog world. It wasn't intentional. It wasn't what we wanted. We just wrote music that we loved, right? And we continue to do, and ultimately, it's brought us into this whole new world of, I don't want to call it active rock by any means, but we never want to do the same thing twice. And correct me if I'm wrong, John, but that's us. Right now, the music we're writing now is who we are as individuals, who we are as musicians, and we continue to grow, and our music changes as we grow. So, yeah.
And there's always two tools. You mentioned you don't want to do the same thing twice. The AC/DC formula, or that kind of classic rock formula, is they do the same thing over and over and over.
They do. Yeah.
And I guess it gets down to what you're looking to accomplish and what your goals are. In talking to Nick, obviously you guys set out to not do things the same way twice. So that must be a little bit of a, I don't want to say laborious, but it's got to be some heavy lifting when you guys go in to write new songs to make sure you're not tapping into that same old.
Yeah, so I'll explain there was a growth period is really the best way to describe it. We started off on our first record in the prog power, progressive power metal kind of community. Again, not intentionally, it was just the music we were listening to. But over the last, because we released that like 7 years ago. So like, that's a long time. So, and there was a lot of growing pains in between there, because we had to figure out our identity. Like, what did we want to do, and
right.
As we moved forward, you do it it's a process of elimination, right? You kind of figure out what you don't like. That's usually, you start to basically eliminate the things that you don't like until you realize, okay, this is kind of the direction we want to go in. And what happened was, over a period of those years, we started listening to a lot of active rock. So a lot of the guys we hear, like Nothing More, for instance, there's a huge introduction to them, really spiked our interest into that genre. So we started writing songs based on what we liked, but also what we enjoyed at number one. And we wanted, I think it's just music we always wanted to do, but we just didn't know how to do it. And it just took a long time to figure that out. And by the time we hit, I guess 5 years past, then the pandemic hit. So we were finished the record pre-pandemic. It was done. And then on March, and then we had, 2 years. So time has just passed, but in the end, it was just a natural progression over time.
Well, I mean, this show, I've said it before. This show has started out as a pandemic-based thing. I was doing a radio show, couldn't interview anybody. Yeah. Away we went. The theme has been, by and large, people not being able to do what they want to do, so they're in their homes trying to put music together. So you had this finished. Did you guys obviously you were maybe able to clean some stuff up, but did you guys use technology? Did you do anything that kind of kept you, I guess, going to get through those 2 years? Because a lot of people didn't have anything to do. I mean, they couldn't play, they couldn't do anything. Was that something that you guys were able to tap into?
So we focused on making sure that by the time we got to release time, we were as prepared as possible. We used that time to complete music videos. We used that time to make sure we had everything, all the boxes ticked. So by the time we got to this point, we were ready to go. I should also mention my brother, who's the drummer in the band, started a TikTok, and he has now reached over 200,000 followers on there. So he's really kicking ass on there. So he's been really busy. We haven't stood still or anything. We've been busy preparing to get to this point so that when the time came to release, we weren't going to be missing anything.
Well, and I mean, Nick, I'll shoot this over to you. Social media
Sure.
can be very frustrating. I mean, you do something that you think is cool, and you get, 250, 300 hits, and then some guy feeds raccoons on his back deck, and he goes viral. You never know what's going to kind of click, and it's frustrating. I was talking to somebody about this the other day. What do you guys do with your social media? Obviously, it's Billy, right, that has the TikTok.
Yeah.
200,000 people tuned into that is incredible.
Yeah.
Are you guys able to piggyback onto that for your band?
Well, Billy, so he, so he's got his own thing going on, but through the channel, through his channel, we can definitely, it helps, right? Because he can do some promotional things, and a lot of his fans love him because he has fitness integrated with, like, he does all sorts of things, but it's very fitness related because he's big into it. And now, because I guess we're getting closer to the release, he started integrating the band more into his TikTok. So the people that are following him are very receptive to it. So it was like a progression. He had to build his audience and then kind of make sure that they were happy to go along for the ride, even with the music stuff. And so far, it seems very good.
So you said that your first album was done 7 years ago. So Nick, have you guys, in terms of shows, obviously nobody played a lot of shows the last 2 years. Were you guys playing live venues when that first album came out up until, I guess, everything shut down?
Yeah, it's really interesting. The album itself had already been out for like 2 years, and it built this almost, I don't want to use the word underground, but this following in forums and such. And it took 2 years before we even locked down any type of tour show. We had troubles even getting shows here in Toronto. We did a few battle of bands and such like that. But the Prog Power community, we ended up getting invited to play Prog Power, play the biggest show we've ever played within, those first 2 years. And it took that long to gain traction. Then we followed up with a little tour. We did a tour with a band called Circus Maximus. That was a pre kind of leg that worked into the prog power. And we followed up with a massive North American tour with a band called Evergrey and Need. We were supporting on that. That was a 25 show tour, 30 states. And that was how many years now, John? 2018?
That was 2017, I think.
2017. So as far as shows and tours go, that was pretty much the last big hurrah we had, and we really hit it hard with trying to get the album ready and get going. We rehearse, of course. We keep tight. We keep that ball rolling. As of now, we're starting to try to get some things set up and getting out there again. As you can imagine, logistically, it's been a challenge for many people. There's a lot of angst and anxiousness. But we're going to make it through, and we're going to make things happen. And the ultimate goal is to hit the touring circuit hard, get on some of those summer festivals, and just do what we do this for, get on stage and rock out.
It's interesting because I have one friend of mine, road manages Michael Bublé. Another friend of mine, road manages Through Even Dead Man. They sat around for 2 years. All of a sudden, everything opens up. Boom! They haven't been home in months. That's kind of the way that it's going. When you guys are out there, are you guys a trio when you're playing live?
Well, yeah. So we're the core of the band. John, myself, and Billy. We always have been. We've had bass players jump on tours with us, like almost I hate to use the word hired gun, but that's ultimately, we're the three piece as of now.
So the criteria of choosing a bass player is you got to make sure that he lifts gear and loads gear before you do anything.
Yeah, and if you can fucking find one, pardon my French, but if you can find one.
Yeah. It's funny because I remember growing up, you had to turn a guitar player into a bass player. You could never find an actual bass player.
And that's exactly what we've been doing.
That's what happened. Yeah. That's exactly what happened.
Even in Toronto, and it's funny, when I lived up there, they used to have the old Gasworks. They used to do a Sunday night jam with a band called Liquid Indian, and that was kind of right at the tail end of the 90s. And I don't know how many bass players would show up and say, where the hell were you guys 2 months ago? You know what I mean? But they never do anything. So we're going to wrap this segment, fellas. But one of the things I guess, Nick, I'd like to put to you, vocal style. I couldn't, again, I'm pretty good at picking out influences. I couldn't put my finger on anybody. Who might be some of the people that you would have grown up listening to that you would have kind of nicked chops and looks from?
Oh man, I'm a huge Ronnie James Dio fan. Massive Ronnie James Dio fan. Fucking right. All day, baby. That's it. All day, every day. Howard Jones, ex-Killswitch Engage, Light the Torch, phenomenal vocalist. Chris Cornell, rest in peace. That guy hits right here every single fucking time I put his music on. Serge Tankian from System of a Down. It's this hodgepodge, man. It's this massive hodgepodge. Again, like I said earlier, I'm not here to emulate anybody. That's the last thing you want to do. And sometimes I have to check myself to say, look, I'm not that person. Hone in your sound and ultimately roll with it. So those are some of the guys that I kind of pick into. I also really I like to listen to a lot of R&B, Latin music, classical. So I listen to freaking everything, man. And as far as, I did a series of lessons. I take lessons from everybody. I did some classical, rock, you name it. You never learn enough. So those are some of the individuals.
I'm a drummer myself. I have 7 chops that I just use different ways because you know what? It's just easier to do that, right? But those are great answers. And you know what? I didn't get any of that from what I heard, so that's very, very interesting to me.
So can I ask you, what did you get from it? Because I'm interested.
So Jamie sent it to me, and I'm sitting there going, when it was labeled prog, I was like, okay, again, you're ready to hear like Dream Theater, 15 and 20 minute songs. I got a little bit of Linkin Park.
Okay.
Are you there, brother? Sorry, I got a little bit of Linkin Park in there. Mm-hmm. I did hear changes to Soundgarden, but in weird sorts of ways. I heard, oddly enough, a little bit of a little bit of Stone Temple Pilots. I don't know if that's one of the
Okay.
ones that you get.
Okay.
But again, when I listened to it, I was like, this, you know, it wouldn't be something that I would go and hunt out, but when I heard it, it was like, wow, this is really interesting material.
I love it. Love to hear
Thank
it.
you.